Up. We got sound. Good morning, everybody. Hello. We've got some people joining. I see Joey. I see Brianna. I already spoke to Jennifer. First comment award goes to Jennifer. I appreciate the enthusiasm, and I am very glad to be with you guys today. If you've never joined us before, this is a show that we call Breakfast with Disaster. It's every Tuesday at 10 a.m., and here's what it's about. We're going to tell you about all the worst things that can happen so that you can avoid them. And if you're asking, why do we know about all the worst things in the world? We are not terrible, weird psychopaths. We work for a company called SERVPRO, the Southtowns, and SERVPRO of West Seneca, Lancaster, where we do all sorts of disaster restoration. Fire, water, mold. A lot more disgusting things I won't tell you about. And we're the people who get that call at 3 a.m. when something goes horribly wrong. And we're very happy to do it. My name is Dan Bauer. With me, as always, is Tyler Jordan. Tyler, how you doing?
Good. How are you doing today?
I'm great. We've got, Betty Ludwig, Tyler's mom is here. Mike's here, Nicole's here, Gretchen, Jackie, Jennifer, Kristen, Diane, Lisa, Megan. I'm running out of breath. Today. Full house today. I thought everybody was going to already be on their New Year's vacation. So I'm very happy to see you guys. We got a fun show for you. This is our last show of the year. It is actually our 20th show that we have ever done, which is crazy. We've been doing this for over 20 weeks. We took a little hiatus from my honeymoon. And it's the new year. It's kind of time to look back and to reflect and sip some champagne and make all your resolutions. I hope everybody had a good year. It's been a weird year for sure, but I hope you made the most of it. Now, Tyler, you've been with us for like a little over like a month and a half, maybe?
Yeah, right about that.
How has it been for you? What have you
learned? It's been great. I've been learning what mitigation is, that it exists, how important it is, because as a new homeowner, I need to be aware, when I have flooding and stuff like that. It's good to know. Yeah, it's definitely a world I did not know existed until I started here. We have seen a lot, actually, this year. We've responded at 3 a.m. to like 15-floor high-rise fires, very dramatic stuff. Hi, buddy. We've stopped water damage dead in its tracks all over western New York. We have seen exploding sugar factories. We have crawled around in contaminated crawl spaces. It has been an interesting year for us, and we're here today. We want to share a few of those takeaways with you. A lot of you on this live stream here are in the insurance industry or the property management industry. And so you guys deal with this stuff just as much as we do. We just deal with the really messy stuff. And, take this with a grain of salt. This is kind of our anecdotal, I would say, interpretation of what kind of the trends are coming in next year. We do have some data behind it. But, Tyler, I thought this might be helpful for you, actually, as sort of a newbie to the game. Yeah, that sounds very interesting. I would definitely like to know, what I'm really getting into.
Yeah, what's around the corner.
Yeah.
And so everybody, take notes, don't take notes, but this is what we've seen. This is what, when people suffer damage, this is kind of what's happening out there, so you guys can be prepared if they're your customers, your tenants, or whatever, for when they give you that call. Number one, if I can get my slideshow to work, which sometimes it does, I've noticed this year more than last year, actually, which is surprising. I'll tell you why in a second. More issues stemming from, like, abandoned or neglected properties.
Oh,
and that isn't, well, it's a very harsh sounding thing, like abandoned, like you left your home with a bindle and like, walked down the train track. It's not really that. It has a lot more to do with, honestly, like, COVID restrictions.
Okay.
Which is why I was surprised it was more this year than last year. Biggest one, probably, is that people could not cross the Canadian border for, like, most of the year. And even now, there's obviously a lot of restrictions on it. Maybe they're going to reclose it, who knows. But a lot of these issues stem from the fact that people just couldn't get here to their properties. These issues probably would have been nipped in the bud if they could. And I'll show you an example here. This is a nice little ski cottage. And it's owned by a Canadian citizen, and what happened here is really like a basic sort of water leak. Shouldn't have been a big deal. You can see the floors are kind of buckling. That's not good, but that's definitely something you can deal with. Mm-hmm. But what happens if somebody can't get here, they can't deal with it, they don't know what's happening? What is water encourage? You should know this.
Mold,
yes. Mold growth, microbial growth, which can be a lot harder to deal with than just drying out some floors. Mm-hmm. So you can see here we are under their crawl space. There's mold forming. There's microbial growth. This under the floor, way harder to deal with than just tearing out a couple of floorboards and drying a cavity.
Oh, I bet.
We saw similarly and this is really gross, these sort of abandonment issues, and I don't know, I'm actually sure there are some people on this stream right now who have dealt with this with their insureds, walk-in freezers failing, malfunctioning, suffering damage, whatever.
Gross.
Yes, and people don't know about it for months. It's at their home, it's at their business, which is closed, and they walk in, and it's off the charts. It's one of the grossest things I think that we deal with.
Full-on biohazard at that point.
It is a full-on biohazard. It is. I'm not going to show any images of it because it's like not safe for anybody's work except for, I guess, ours. But it is the sort of thing that we saw happening a lot, and it's really just basic. People weren't there. They couldn't get there. They weren't there, and that's when things really tend to get bad. Is when you cannot respond to them. We'll get actually more to that in a minute.
Well, do they have a way to prepare for this? How can they get ready? Is it just it's going to happen?
So on one hand, yes. If you're leaving your home, and this is good, if you know people, if you have insureds that do this, if they're snowbirds, if you're leaving your home for an extended period of time, you should absolutely be prepared for anything that could happen to you. You should turn off your water shutoff. That's a major one. You don't want to, if there's a leak, if there's a burst pipe or something, you want to make sure that water is off, and you're not using it anyway. You should be keeping your house heated so like your pipes don't burst if you can't turn off your water for whatever reason. Things of that nature can really help you to prepare. You can get water leak detection. You can get a sump pump backup. Things like that are going to protect you from disaster. On the other hand, there's, disaster strikes anyone and everyone eventually, and you can't avoid it. If you could, we probably wouldn't have a business.
And even maybe having a friend, that's more local, that neighbor, you can have them check in on.
Call your friend, call your Aunt Sue, call your dad, call someone's dad. Yeah, to have them check on your house every once in a while. That's probably the best thing you can do, because if you can't be there and prevent this stuff from happening, being able to respond as quickly as possible is really the key to making sure that these situations don't get out of control. And here's your water shut off. If you don't know what that looks like, just turn it to off. Very simple if you're leaving. Tyler, I've got another one for you, and this is more of just an industry trend.
Okay.
But we've definitely seen it. And you guys have probably seen it too if you're dealing with property claims. It's full service. There's this demand for full service. People want it all. And I would say that can really mean a lot of different things, right? Full service property restoration.
Mm-hmm.
The basic idea of it is people want one company to take everything from A to Z, which was not always the case. Convenience is king. We've got the Burger King here to prove it. And you've seen this, I'm sure, in your own life. Like, you were just about to check into a flight, right? And you can now, from your computer, go online. I'm checking and I get my seat. I know I'm on. Obviously, that wasn't the case before the internet. You can order DoorDash from your couch if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
Many people are working from my little sister right now.
Alcohol from her couch nowadays.
You can do that. It's crazy. My little sister right now is probably working from home in her pajamas right now. Convenience is everywhere. It's everything. And it's no coincidence that it's now finding its way into the property restoration industry. And so people want this full service thing. And that can mean a lot of different things. It's, I have an electrical issue. Can you find me an electrician? It's, I need new flooring. Can you help me buy that new flooring? Can you connect me with a person? Can you walk me through my coverages so I know what I can afford and what's covered? Usually, though, it refers to construction, rebuilds after there's any sort of demolition or damage in place. So this is somebody patching drywall. We have to cut into a lot of drywall when it gets wet. People want their walls back. They want their floors back. And this is a service we offered for a long, long time, but I would say 2021 is the year where it's just like everybody wants it. And not even wants it, but they kind of expect it. And I'm going to sound mean a little bit, but I promise I'm goofing on myself. I think it's because there are a lot of newer, younger, your millennial homeowners here, and I'm sorry if this image of a certain insurance commercial is triggering to anyone, but I couldn't not bring it up. These folks who are younger, like me, they own homes now, and all of a sudden they're on the hook to deal with this damage. Something terrible happens they didn't expect. They don't know what to do. I am not a handy person, and I've not owned a home long enough to really develop those skills yet, so if I have damage in my house and I have to repair drywall, I don't really know what to do.
Yeah.
I could Google it, I guess, but what you're seeing is a lot of these people, these younger people especially, just they want the convenience, they expect the convenience, and they don't know what to do, so they want full service. They expect it.
Get it all done.
Yeah.
Don't have to worry about calling 6 different people.
Yes.
One and done.
And that was not the case for a long time. For the past, maybe 20 years or so, from what I'm told, people kind of wanted to maybe handle this on their own. They had their own companies. They were going to do the repairs themselves. Now, increasingly, almost everybody wants that, or they just assume they're going to get it. And that's why we offer it. But that was not the case for a long time. This next one, actually... Oh, J.D. Power. I did say there was going to be some data here. J.D. Power puts out this thing. It's called the Property Claim Satisfaction Study. I did a webinar on it last year. I didn't do one this year, but I did read it. And it goes into all the different things that factor into what makes like a property claim successful. What makes it satisfactory. Because that's a really scary time, right? And insurance agents on this stream, I think, will agree. When somebody puts in a claim, it's like, it's go time. They've had this insurance. Some people have insurance decades and they never use it. They put in a claim and all of a sudden they're thinking about their insurance all the time. They're expecting a very high level of service, a very high level of coverage. And that claim is when somebody might decide, you know what, I actually don't like my insurance. I'm going to cancel my policy when this is done. It happens a lot. One of the things that makes a claim go well, where people come out of it actually more satisfied with their current policy and they don't cancel and you retain those insureds, is that full service. They have one phone number to call. It makes things so much easier for them. Yeah. And they don't misdirect anger at having to wrangle 7 different contractors at their insurance agent and cancel. So this is a trend. I only see it rising because it's just, that's what people want these days. And they're going to look around and find a way to get it. This next trend here is probably a negative one. It's definitely a negative one. And it stems, I think, from a similar mentality. And it's something that, you as, you're in sales now, it's something that you're going to have to learn to talk about with people and educate them on. Mm-hmm. Because it affects everybody. Folks are a lot more hesitant this year, more than we've ever seen really before, to deal with emergencies in the moment. And that's bad. Because emergencies are emergencies, and if you kind of let them fester, it's going to make things a lot worse for you, a lot more expensive for you in the long run. And this is actually a product of what I would say is generally positive things, right? We'll take a water damage project, for example. We have a lot of tools at our disposal as a water damage restoration company. Way more than we used to. It used to be somebody would call us about damage. Again, this is 20 years ago. And say, hey, my pipe burst. Can you deal with it? And our technicians would go out. They would measure. They sold moisture meters and everything. They would get a sense of where the water got in. They would calculate how to dry it, what kind of equipment to put in. And they would mitigate the water damage, and that would kind of be that. The person would put in an insurance claim and deal with it, and whatever after the fact. These days, there are a lot more tools. This is an infrared camera that can see it inside a wall and look for moisture. We have all sorts of tools, software to calculate equipment ratios, how things are meant to dry, different material costs. Perfect. That's good.
But now we want quotes.
Well, that's the thing. Is on the other hand, everybody else has more tools too. And homeowners have the internet, which is a good thing generally, right? They're able to do a ton of research. Hi, Maria. They're able to do a ton of research about anything they're buying. A new pair of shoes, a new car, whatever. And they can also do a ton of research about, stick with water damage. Mm-hmm. What is it, what are the risks? How much is it going to cost me? What is this process going to look like? And they're able to, while they're doing this research, also find like 10 different restoration companies. Probably all good restoration companies. Nothing wrong with restoration companies. But they're able to find like 10 of them who in a matter of minutes will answer the call like, I will be right there.
Yep. And
they're also able to, if they're putting in an insurance claim, they can start that claim at like 3 a.m. And they can start taking pictures and that ball starts rolling. And so there's all these things are generally good, right? They have more transparency. They have more access. They have more knowledge. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Except that very often leads to paralysis, panic. People get overloaded with these options. And frankly, they go on the internet and they Google water damage restoration. They read horror stories about contractors. They're scared. They don't know what they're really getting into. More information leads to you look like this guy biting your nails. And you do not want to pull the trigger on anything. Most often, this will take the form of somebody wanting to wait for like 3 to 5 different companies to come out and take readings and scope out this water damage project and put together a written estimate for them with a price, submit that price to an insurance adjuster for the entire project, get it approved, and then they're ready to go. That's not a bad thing, to be prepared, to know what you're getting into. Transparency is good. We strive for it here. What's bad is when you wait 3 to 5 days and all this water is sitting there and nobody's doing anything about it. Water is... It's damaging is sort of a dumb thing to say, but it's true. We don't really think about it unless you're dealing with it. But if this room here had water in it, water can wake up that drywall at a rate of maybe 1 inch not a minute. That'd be crazy. 1 inch an hour. So if it sits there for 24 hours, it's up your wall 2 feet. It can seep under your floor. It can get into your wall cavities, get cavities under the floor. All of a sudden, you've got water there that's trapped, that cannot dry on its own. And what happens more often because of this is mold growth, microbial growth. That can start in as little as 24 hours. Sometimes it's longer, sometimes it's different. Mold is kind of unpredictable. It's a living thing.
So just one weekend of waiting could be
the
difference.
All of a sudden, things are very, very different. It's instead of it just being water on your floor, it's now in your walls. It's now trapped under hardwood. It's now in the air. The humidity is high, so mold is starting to form. All these sorts of things that could have been mitigated. Because people want to wait 3 to 5 days, sometimes more, very often more, in fact, to do anything. Because they have so much knowledge at their fingertips. They know they can get estimates. They know that they can try to find this low bid, even with a covered claim. And this is I always find this interesting. Even when they know the claim is going to be covered, at least partially, they're still going for the low bid. They're trying to spend as little money as possible on it. And so they get all these estimates. They all come back fairly similar. Most restoration companies are using very similar standards, and I can talk about why we're superior in a bit. But they come up relatively similar. People take the low bid and they start 5 days late. And this is a classic example of somebody stepping over $1 to get a dime. I see it all the time. People wait. They want the best price, whatever, and they make things so much worse. It's one of the reasons we saw mold jobs, not really claims. It's harder to get it covered by insurance. But mold projects rise by about 33% here in Western New York, and that's all over the region. And there are a couple different factors in there, but it's mostly just people waiting and letting things fester. It's a lot of mold, and it's very expensive to remediate properly. You can see it here. It's pretty gross. The advice here, and this goes to insurance professionals, it goes to homeowners, is pretty simple. If it's an emergency, you got to treat it like one. You should get those emergency services to stop damage. And again, I'm still talking about water here, but this factors into everything. But emergency services as soon as possible from really the first reputable company that can get there. Because what those emergency services are designed to do is just to stop further damage from occurring. That's priority one. You get the water, you have water gushing in your basement, you turn the water off, and then you get somebody in there to stop further damage from occurring. Because if you wait, it's going to get a lot worse. And I refrain, I promise, from really advising people, this is going to be covered, this won't be covered. I tell them you've got to talk to your insurance company. But most of the time, those emergency services are covered. It's pretty much a no-brainer from an insurance company's perspective. Okay, I could pay to have somebody stop this damage now, and it will be, I don't want to, I can't, it's hard to give a price, but it won't be that much versus I'm going to let it sit for 5 days and it's going to become 10 times as expensive. Most of the time that's going to be covered, but people just get paralyzed. They have all this information. They want all the information up front before they start, and they end up making things a lot worse. And this is something I've really seen a lot of this year, and it's, we try to educate people when they call us and why it's important to act fast, but this is definitely a trend, and I think it stems from the same place as a lot of these other trends here. People just, they're new to this, they have the ability to do a lot of research very quickly, and they just get stuck. So, that's kind of my conclusions, I guess, for 2022. I could talk about this all day. It's been an interesting year. I've learned a lot. I hope you have learned a lot in the past 2 months.
Absolutely.
The takeaways, guys, are pretty simple. People are becoming more educated. They're wanting more when it comes to, these property restoration claims. I'm sure, if you're in the insurance business especially, you have seen this happen on your end. And I'd, in fact, be very interested to know what you've noticed. Feel free to call me, or we'll chat next time I'm in your office. People are putting a premium on convenience. They're putting a premium on transparency. They are more educated consumers. They're absolutely right to be more educated consumers. It's the smart decision, but there's so many things that people could be doing to just limit their risk, limit their damage, that they don't do because they get sort of either paralyzed, or in the case of the abandonment issues, they're just not there. So I guess a little knowledge is a dangerous thing sometimes, is the cliche. And that's why we're here. We're trying to educate people to show them the right way to move forward that's going to save them money and hopefully save their homes so they can limit their disruptions. So we're tracking these changes, as always, here at SERVPRO. We are meeting and exceeding these needs head on, but figured I would share my my thoughts here, and hopefully that was helpful for you, Tyler.
Much. Absolutely was.
Yeah. Let's do the main event. Let's do the prize drawing.
Let's see who wins.
So the prize drawing, guys, if you're here and you do not know this, I'm shocked. Here she is. What we do every week is we've got the SERVPRO Mug Club. And you get a coffee mug. It's got a number on the bottom. I don't have one handy here. Oh, you've got one here?
I always have one handy.
All right, the number 501. If you guys can see it. You get a mug. Every week we do a prize drawing here with that number on your mug. And if your number gets called and you are watching, you get a double prize, which is pretty cool. So if you're watching this and you haven't commented yet, I have no idea that you're watching it. You need to comment, let me know you're here. Otherwise, you will not get that double prize, and everybody will be very sad. I'm also instituting a bit of a new rule because we've had some double winners and a lot of people who have never been called at all. Let's say if you haven't been called, if you've been called the past 3 months, I call your name, I'm probably going to draw you again, and I'm sorry about that, Jeff, but there's so many people that I would love to see win here that I think there needs to be some sort of limit. So, without further ado, let's draw a name. All right, round and round and round we go. 153. That is going to be Justin over at Terra Nova. Justin, are you on? I got to bring up my Facebook tab here. Tara's here, Carolyn, everybody. We got Justin over at Terra Nova. I did not see him comment, but I will check before I get off here. Make sure you're not here, Justin. So many people here. Jackie, Tara, Carolyn, Lindsay, Linda, Kathy, Maria, Noelle, Kathy again, and several Kathys here. If I didn't say hi to you guys, I am so sorry. It is very, very good to see you all, though, and I will make sure that I reply to everybody's comment, and thank you for being here. This has been Breakfast with Disaster. This is every Tuesday at 10 a.m. with me and Tyler here at SERVPRO of the Southtowns, SERVPRO of West Seneca, Lancaster. We will see you next week for show number 21 in 2022. It's going to be a lot of fun. Until then, have a wonderful day, and we'll talk to you soon.